InsideSales.com is excited to present the next presentation, Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. Mark helps companies and salespeople find and retain better customers. He is also a senior partner in MCA Sales Leadership, which provides sales strategy programs for Fortune 500 companies. He's recognized as one of the top 50 most influential sales and marketing leaders. All of this has him traveling globally nearly 200 days out of the year, working with companies to help them grow their top-line sales and bottom-line profits. He's known for his sales growth strategies and consultative selling approach to business. Mark Hunter is frequently quoted in the media and is a keynote speaker at major conferences on the subject of sales and sales leadership. His sales techniques are in use today by salespeople on 5 continents and in more than 100 different countries today. Thanks for joining the Sales Acceleration Summit, Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter, and I want to talk to you right now about the 5 critical qualification needs. What is this all about? It's about prospecting, and it's about making sure that what you have are really, truly prospects. You see, one of the problems that we all have is that we wind up having people in our pipeline, and this works whether or not it's B2B, B2C, inside sales, or outside sales. What happens is we wind up with prospects in our pipeline that are not prospects. They're merely suspects. In fact, what I'll contend is that a great many of us have pipelines that are clogged with absolute suspects. You see, they're not going anywhere. You see, one of the challenges, and think about this if you're a sales manager. If you're a sales manager viewing this, and you may have some salespeople who are sitting there saying, I've got all these people in my pipeline, I've got all these prospects in my pipeline, but they never seem to go anywhere. They never seem to move. They never seem to go up or down in the funnel. What's going on? It's plugged. It's plugged. And well, here are 5 qualification methods, 5 qualification levels that you need to look at. And what this is all about is one thing. I want to challenge you to be spending more time with fewer prospects. Think about this for a moment. I want you to spend more time with fewer prospects. You see, what happens too many times is that salespeople get their pipeline so plugged that they don't have enough time to focus on any one individual. They don't have enough time to focus on the right leads. So what happens is they spray and pray. Well, let's get into the first one. The first one is, have they shared with you a piece of proprietary information? Now think about this for just a moment. A prospect is not going to share with you a piece of proprietary information. What is proprietary information? That's something that's not known publicly. That's something that's not known to other people. That's not known outside their company, outside the organization, outside, maybe if it's B2B, the family, or personal information. You see, they're not going to share with that information unless they have a level of confidence and a level of competence with you. Now think about this for a moment. If you were just kicking the tires on something, you would not be sharing with a salesperson a level of really proprietary information because you're not confident with them. But if you have an intent, if you have a desire, if you have an interest, and you have confidence, you see, the two have to go together. Because even though you may have interest, if you don't have confidence, you're not going to share. And oh, by the way, you're not going to do business with somebody who you're not confident with. Or if you are going to do business with somebody who you're not confident with, you will never do anything other than be an economic buyer. You see, this is the other thing I want to talk about. What do these 5 qualification levels do? Not only does it eliminate the suspects from your prospect list, but it helps you maximize the price. This is the thing that I talk about. When I speak to organizations, to companies, whether it be in the U.S., whether it be around the world, and I'm working with whether it be salespeople or senior management, this is the issue that comes up. Because I want to say, how do we clean our pipeline, have it be clean with prospects, and ones that we can maximize price? Now, just because somebody shares with you a piece of proprietary information, that confidential information, doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to buy. But they are moving down that path. And this is very, very critical. Now, this is what I find very interesting. I want to listen for my prospects to be sharing with me this confidential proprietary information early on in the sale, early on in the sales call. Because the sooner they share it with me, the sooner I know that they have begun to reach a level of confidence with me. And when they've reached that level of confidence with me, then they will begin to share with me even more information. See, this is why this first one of sharing proprietary information is absolutely so critical. Now, number 2 is, are they willing to give you a critical need? Now, this is a basic in sales, but I want you to pay attention to something right here. Critical need. You see, the critical need is all about whether or not you can help them. But the critical need is very important after it comes out, after the proprietary information. Why? Because they may throw out a critical need to you just to see how you respond before you have confidence. But it may not be a real critical need. But now, once they have a level of confidence in you, what they share with you is going to be spot on. It's going to be very directional for you to work with. You see, so what I do is I want to be attuned, I want to be listening to those critical needs that are popping up immediately after or anytime after I hear that level of proprietary information. You see, now I have something to work on. Now I'm sitting here saying I only need to have one critical need. Now, as we all know in sales, the best sales close is going to be one that we can really wrap around a potential of 3 critical needs. I don't want to close on 3 critical needs. I want to close on 1 or 2 at the most. But I want to have 3. Why? Because it gives me an option. If the customer suddenly discounts one of them, I got somewhere else to go. See, so what I want to do is early on in my prospecting process, I want to be uncovering as many critical needs as possible. Now, this is the other thing that's very interesting. When I'm in the prospecting phase with you, and I kind of refer this, we go through 3 phases with the customer. We go through that first phase where the customer is just, they're feeling you out. Then they get confident, and then they begin to negotiate. It's that confidence stage that is when the real good information comes out, because the customer's relaxed. They do not feel threatened by you. They do not feel you're trying to close. They do not feel you're trying to push. They feel you're trying to listen. See, so I love the prospecting phase. In fact, I like to elongate the prospecting phase. Now, I elongate it to close it faster, because what I'm doing is I'm separating suspects. I'm getting better information in a relaxed state during the prospecting phase. And what happens? I'm able to make the decision faster. Let's get to number 3. Do you know their timeline for making a decision? Now, think about this for a moment, okay? Do you know their timeline for making a decision? This is absolutely probably the biggest single issue that messes up pipelines. I want to be dealing with customers, I want to be dealing with prospects who are very quickly going to be closing the sale. Because when they're very quickly closing the sale, that's when I want to work with them. If they're not going to be willing to make a decision for a year, 2 years, I really don't want to, well, I'm going to spend time with them, but more from a marketing and awareness standpoint. I may do it by other means. I may not do it face-to-face. I may not do it by over the telephone. So how do I find this out? I ask them. I ask the customer early on, what is your timeline for making a decision? Now, this is what I find very interesting. If I ask this question at the state of the call where the customer has reached a level of confidence in me, they'll be forthcoming. They will share with me what it is. And I love it. I love that. Because now what is happening? I'm now able to work my calendar. Because here's the interesting thing. The most critical asset you have as a salesperson is your time. Your time is the most critical aspect you have. You can have. Don't sit there and think for a moment that your most valuable asset is your price or you know, no. Your most critical asset is your own time. Now, let's move on, because not only is it the timeline, but we have another one here. Do you know their value of money? Ooh, wow. This one really gets a lot of people. And it's interesting. I'll be standing in front of a large group at a conference or a sales meeting, and I'll say, hey, do you know the value of your customer's money? And I always get this stare look on your face. And I said, this is really quite easy to find out. Here's how you do it. You ask the question, how have you made decisions like this in the past? I love this is $1 million question. Why is it $1 million? Because it uncovers their value of money. How do you value money? Now, I can't say, how do you value money? You can't ask somebody that, but you can ask somebody, how have you made a decision like this in the past? Here's what you're going to get. If the customer has a level of confidence with you, they're going to share with you, well, we looked at this, we looked at this, we looked at this. Are they talking money? Are they talking price? Are they talking these things? Now remember, if you ask this during the negotiation phase, it's going to be focused on price. But if you ask this during the prospecting phase when they're relaxed, they're going to share with you the truth. You see, what's interesting is now you begin to understand how they value. How do they value money? Is really the solution, the outcome, the most critical factor? Is time the most critical factor? Remember the question I asked earlier? You begin to get all of these things on the table. Now, this is why this works so well. Because now I begin to understand how I want to structure my proposal. So what happens is I'm increasing my probability of closing the sale. Because the other thing that I'm doing here is I'm really eliminating the fifth one. Now, the fifth one is really the most basic. The fifth one is very simply this. Are you dealing with the decision maker? Okay? Now, think about this for a moment. Many times you'll get a phone call. I just want a price quote. Just give me a price. And that's not the decision maker. See, that's not the decision maker. They're just somebody getting the price. Now, I want to know who is the decision maker. Now, this is the most basic piece of validating the prospect. But I'm amazed at the number of times when we don't know. Now, here's what I'm looking for here. If I've asked that question earlier, remember for number 4, how have you made decisions like this in the past? What I'm also listening for is, are they mentioning other names? Are they mentioning other people? You see what's happening here is I'm uncovering this information in a very quiet, relaxed manner with the customer. And it is ensuring that I'm dealing, because I don't want to put the price out unless I'm dealing with the decision maker. Now, we've gone through 5 things here in terms of the 5 critical things. And let's just review them very quickly. Because this number 1, the proprietary information, that is go, no go. If they're not willing to share with you proprietary information, I move them over to my marketing list. I move them over. And if I walk through each of these 5 steps, if they're not willing to provide me the answers, I don't put price on the table. Because what I want to do is I want to be focusing again earlier, like I said, more time with fewer prospects. And I know I'm going to wind up closing more sales that way. Now, does that mean that everything else doesn't belong in my pipeline? Well, it belongs in a different pipeline. It belongs in your marketing pipeline. That's where you need to put it. Now, what I've been sharing with you are really 5 critical factors, and they come out of my book, High Profit Selling. But it's really about how you can be more successful. Because what I want you to do is I want you to realize that your most valuable time is your time. That's the most valuable asset you have. And I want you to be spending more time with fewer people by cleaning your pipeline. Hey, Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter, great selling.